What is their worry outside of them?
There have been, you know, forbidden truths, we can call them, if you will. There have been forbidden truths in the history of not just our country, but many countries. Truths that could upset a balance, a balance that's been around for a long time. Imagine, imagine everything you've been taught, uh, whether it's through Sunday school or through regular formal education in school, or what our political leaders have told us. And yes, even maybe our mothers and fathers around the dinner table have told us, or maybe at bedtime, about who we are, right? And our background and our past. Um, what if all of that turned out to be not entirely accurate? In fact, the very history of our species, the meaning, what it means to be a human being and our place in this universe. What if all that is now in question? What if it turns out that a lot of the things that we thought were one way aren't? Are are we prepared to have that honest question with ourselves? Are we prepared to recognize that we're not at the top of the food chain potentially, that we're not the alpha predator, that we are uh, maybe somewhere in the middle? Um, it's interesting because I was having a discussion with a friend not too long ago. A really, we call them graybeards in the government. Really, really smart guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but I was talking to him probably a couple months ago. And this is a guy who was always paid to solve the hard problems for the U.S. government. Cold War. How do we solve that? Right? How do we do these big things? How do we go in and beat the Russians at their own game? Um, so this guy I respect tremendously, and we had a conversation. He said, Lou, mankind's been around for a little while, and for most of that time, mankind's been around. We've been smack in the middle of the food chain. We've been, we ate a lot of things, and a lot of things ate us, and that's just the bottom line. And about 70,000 years ago, something fundamentally changed. Something changed, and our species was instantly catapulted to the very top of our planet as far as predatory animals. And and now all of a sudden we became the most feared. We were the most lethal and the most successful. In fact, most of the large species that existed on this planet went extinct because of us. Believe it or not, because we started eating all of it. There were a couple species that did very well with our ascension, our immediate ascension, and we brought a couple species with us. The dog is an example, where the dog species benefited greatly with mankind's ascension as the alpha predator, and wound up succeeding as well, doing very well off of that. That changed the entire global landscape of our planet almost overnight. Large animals went extinct because of us. What if it turns out that there's another species that is even higher on that ladder than we are? Um, do we need the social institutions that we have today? Will we need governmental and religious organizations that we have today if it turns out that there is something else or someone else that is technologically more advanced, and perhaps from an evolutionary perspective more advanced. Have we been wasting our time all this time, or are we doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing? Are we? Does it turn out that mankind is in fact just another animal in the zoo? Or because we thought ourselves as a zookeeper before, but maybe we're just another exhibit inside the zoo. What would that mean to us? So when I say sombering and sobering, I mean that there's going to come a point in this conversation where we're going to have to do a lot of reconciling with ourselves, whatever that means, from whatever philosophical background you have. This is going to impact every single one of us the same and yet equally and yet differently. And I think that's important. Do we find ourselves in a situation where history may have to be rewritten?
There were top secret briefing slides. Well, in the United States, where I now live, the definition of top secret information is information the release of which would cause catastrophic damage to the national interests of the United States. I think I'm slightly muddling the British and the American definitions there. I can't help that, but yeah, cause serious harm to the defense and national security of the United States. And you've got to say, what could there be? For years, people forget, for years, the American government told people, we're not even interested in this. Nobody's investigating. And now it's like a 180-degree turn. And they say, yeah, we've got top secret information on UFOs. So like you say, what is it?
Because this topic's really scary. It's like, UFOs. Oh, wow, there's these things in the sky. Well, it's much bigger than that. It's much, 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 much bigger than that.
Tom, why is there stigma
because
on even the topic of ufology, even though there's science involved? And that's what you're not dealing with this from a fantasy perspective.
No.
You're dealing from a facts perspective. Yet still people hear Tom DeLonge and UFO, or anybody in UFO,
Sure.
and they think tinfoil hats. Why?
Because what happened is when we found out what was going on after World War II, kind of during World War II, it scared the hell out of everybody involved. And so what they did was they said, we got to figure out what this subject is, what this topic is. We got to figure out what it is, who it is, what they're doing, all that kind of stuff. And we need to do it in crazy secrecy because this is really, really, really advanced stuff.
And what was the really, really advanced stuff?
Well, the machinery,
Which is what?
The crafts itself.
Aircrafts.
Well, they're not even really air. They're transmedium, so you have this sphere.
Okay, now I'm just going to say it's this point right here where everybody goes, Tom's crazy.
Yeah, well.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Not me.
Well,
no, I'm just saying it feels like.
hanging on every word.
Oh, like I have no idea.
Well, let me explain
Okay.
why it's the tinfoil hat thing. Is so what they did is the government slipped operatives, over decades into these UFO groups and into the news and just made everyone think it was dumb. But it was for good reason, because they didn't want people to understand it was real. They didn't want people freaking out. They didn't want Congress freaking out. And eventually what that would have done is exposed what they were trying to do, which was really a crash course on understanding what this was.
What the hell was it?
So just keep everyone thinking it's stupid. That way it doesn't boil up before they're ready to talk.
Do we
about
have
it.
an alien ship of some type?
Oh, I no comment on that.
What do you
Just-
know, Tom?
Oh, there's a lot
Just
of
shake
things
your
I'm
head,
not-
yes or no. This is radio.
I'm
so.
not gonna
He's shaking
do-
his head. Oh,
I'm
he's
on
not.
camera.
I mean, there's that, but yeah, sure.
Have you ever encountered an alien?
No, but I've had some really interesting experiences. Yeah.
Do you believe, as I do, there could be an alien in this room right now?
There might be.
When you really find out what's going on and what's happening on Earth, it's very depressing, and it totally fits with biblical prophecy, because it appears that both gray aliens and reptilians are feeding on human bodies. That's one of the things that you learn. We need to get rid of these human traffickers. We need to get these aliens out of here, because they are demons, and it's worse than you think. It's a lot worse than you think. What's going on with the border? Most of those people are not going to become American citizens. That's what they call a meat wagon. And I heard about meat wagons all the way back in 2010, that they let people through the border, they put them on a bus, they drive them into an underground base, and whatever happens from there.